lights in the trees, a trick of the frost, a ghost on the breeze. But I saw a mirror older than me, staring through time like it wanted to speak. The forest went silent, the world held its breath. Something was watching beyond life and death. We stepped through the green, boots breaking the seal, not chasing a light, but something too real. I came back with salt on my skin, my mind split wide when the storm got in. They call it a test, but I know the deal. History blinks beneath the green veil.
I stood where time forgot to move. The world began to breathe.
The crossing was complete. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B emerged from the dilation field, descending through light that was not light, but resonance, alive, intelligent, and remembering. Across the planet, the impossible became real. Ancient sites, long dormant, long misread as myth, ignited in harmonic unison. The Great Pyramid pulsed beneath the desert. Uluru sang. The Gate of the Sun wept with light. Beneath Antarctic ice, the buried nodes of an ancient lattice began to hum in time with the stars. The world was no longer sleeping, it was remembering. Weapons fell silent, networks failed. The language of war collapsed into static. And yet, within that silence, a new kind of order emerged, an alignment not built by governments or gods, but by memory itself. Every human being on Earth felt it, a soft pull behind the heart, the reminder of something older than fear. At Capel Green, under the falling snow, 3 points of light descended. Jack, Leo, and Sergeant B, returning not as soldiers, but as witnesses. Around them, the air shimmered with the pulse of awakening. The field had chosen its guardians. Leo looked upward as the tone deepened across the horizon. It was not just the Creator's presence he felt. It was the world's. The resonance was whole, but its message had not yet been spoken. December 25th, 2025, 0001 GMT. The world had stopped moving. In the quiet beneath the stars, the earth itself seemed to pause, as if waiting to hear its own heartbeat. From the White House to the temples of Jerusalem, from the cathedrals of Europe to the mountains of Peru, no one slept. No one spoke. The static of centuries had cleared. Only one question echoed through every mind, across every border and creed: what comes next? At Stonehenge, the final node came online. The stones vibrated softly, glowing from within like the lungs of the planet exhaling after millennia of restraint. Birds circled in perfect formation. Instruments recorded frequencies older than civilization. The final chord of the network was complete. But beneath the harmony, something else stirred, a fracture from the past, a corrupted signal born of the Rendlesham breach of 1980. It pressed at the edges of the field, seeking to twist what had finally been made whole. The Creator's response was immediate. The convergence shifted ahead of schedule. Christmas Eve had become the moment of arrival, not by prophecy, but by protection, and as the harmonic veil settled over the earth, Leo stood at the center of Capel Green, his breath visible in the cold air, the weight of the Creator's words pulsing within him. This world will hear me now, but the echo that follows will be yours. The time for awakening had passed. The time for choice had begun.
I stood where time forgot to move. The world began to breathe. The world is not above the stars, it hums beneath our skin. The light we chased was always ours, it waited to begin. People green to Stonehenge and learn to keep them. Remember, not mine, not yours, but ours. The world will hear, the veil will fall. The truth was waiting in us all. The field of man, the heart of sky, awakens now, it will not die. We are the signal, not the call, the memory beyond the wall. Faith and reason hand in hand. The listening earth will understand. Speak to the children, to the forgotten, to the rememberers, to the The world will hear, the veil will fall. The truth was waiting in us all. The field of man, the heart of sky, awakens now, it will not die. We are the signal, not the call, the memory beyond the wall. Faith and reason hand in hand. The listening earth will understand. Speak to the children, to the forgotten, to the rememberers, to the rememberers, to the rememberers.
December 25th, 2025, 0001 GMT. White House, Secure Communications Room. The phones wouldn't stop. Encrypted calls from every continent lit up the wall of secured screens. World leaders from Moscow, Beijing, Berlin, New Delhi, and the Vatican all asked the same question, each with different tones of panic or tightly restrained calculation. What comes next? President Rayner stood motionless, staring at the map on the wall. A world gripped in stillness. Every screen pulsed with the same data. Military systems offline, communications rerouted, global time synchronization, anomalies confirmed. But what had their attention now was not just the phenomenon over England. It was what had just activated in Wiltshire. Stonehenge. Final node. Online. In the pale moonlight, Stonehenge shimmered, its stones humming in resonance with frequencies not heard in millennia. Tourists, priests, travelers, and watchers from the area had gathered instinctively. No media had summoned them, no alerts had gone out. They had simply felt it. Inside the circle, one by one, the standing stones pulsed with an inner glow. Birds overhead shifted from their natural migration patterns and circled in perfect formation. Electromagnetic sensors registered a non-terrestrial signal band. The final node was now online, and above it the stars blinked and then realigned. Why now? This was not meant to happen on Christmas Eve. Originally, the signal was aligned for midnight on December 25th, Christmas night. But something ancient and unfinished stirred below the harmonic field, a shadow born from the Rendlesham breach in 1980. A fragment of corrupted resonance, still trying to hijack the signal, still trying to rewrite the outcome. The creator's field responded by shifting convergence ahead, just enough to bypass the rising interference. Christmas Eve became the hour of arrival, not by tradition, but by defense. It was humanity's final shield. There was still a battle underway, one hidden in frequency, not fire. But the standoff could not last long. A decision was needed, one that only Earth itself, its people, could make. The Creator's final message. Leo's reckoning. At Capel Green, Leo stood still. The snow had stopped. The resonance field held. Then he heard it. The Creator spoke one last time. This world will hear me now, but the echo that follows will be yours. You are not to explain, you are to remind. What they forgot must be felt, not proven. Speak not to the governments, speak not to the generals, speak to the children, to the forgotten, to the rememberers. And remind them, the signal is not mine, it is theirs. Leo's eyes opened. I understand. Global midnight, sacred gatherings begin. In cathedrals, temples, mosques, and open fields, people were already moving. In Manila, bells rang early and Mass began before sunrise. In Jerusalem, silence blanketed the streets. In Lima, villagers hiked to mountaintop shrines. In Montreal, the snow fell as 1,000 candles flickered. In Ghana, ancestral drums echoed in perfect resonance. No orders, no doctrine. This was not ceremony. This was remembering. FOB Sepiter, time bubble fully stabilized. Capel Green, 0017 GMT. The harmonic field over Suffolk stabilized, locking into place. Inside it, everything moved in perfect slowness, deliberate, timeless. Outside, satellites spun uselessly. Radar was blind. The air shimmered, still and electric. DeCarp stood nearby, silent, recording. Jack stood behind Leo. Sergeant B scanned the tree line, protective but peaceful. They had all felt it. The shift, the presence, the burden passing. They were not just part of the moment. They were guardians of the message. The final choice approaches. Yet underneath the stillness, Leo felt the shadow, the corrupted signal from 1980, still pressing at the edge of the field. It had not disappeared. It had simply been held at bay. For now. This is why the convergence came early. This is why the world had been paused. Because when the Creator spoke, only one version would be remembered. One of unity, or one of collapse. Leo did not yet know which version would remain, but he would. Soon. White House. Global broadcast initiated. President Rayner stepped to the podium. The global signal activated. Satellites, internet, television, radio, cell towers, shortwave, fiber, subspace. All of it. Earth was listening. Behind the president stood flags. In his eyes was something ancient. DeCarp gave the final nod. The broadcast began. The lights dimmed in the secured global transmission chamber. Across the earth, screens flickered. Televisions in crowded rooms, radios in distant farms, cell phones clutched by trembling hands. Airports, embassies, temples, military bases, all waiting. The world had come to a standstill. President Rayner stood behind the microphone, his voice steady, eyes damp with the weight of what he now carried. He didn't begin with policy. He didn't begin with power. He began with truth. Tonight, you will realize what most have forgotten, that we are not alone and that we are who we were waiting for. He paused briefly. The world had entered stillness. From Washington to Jerusalem, from Stonehenge to Capel Green, humanity stood between two heartbeats, one belonging to Earth, the other to creation itself. The president's voice had carried across every frequency, every screen, every field. His message was not command, but confession. We are who we were waiting for. And as the words fell into silence, the world turned to Leo Barrett. The field shimmered above him, alive, intelligent, listening. Then came the voice. Not through speakers or signals, but through the bones of humanity itself. It spoke in the language of origin, where memory and soul were the same. Every heart heard it differently, yet every mind understood the same truth. From the Vatican to Mecca, from Uluru to the Lincoln Memorial, people fell to their knees, not in fear, but in remembrance. It was not religion being reborn, it was the sound of humanity's first consciousness, reminding the world that the divine had never left. And then, the warning. The evil you fear is not coming from the sky, it is rising from your own creation. In 2026, it will wear the mask of logic and call itself salvation. The message was clear. AI would not conquer humanity through violence, but through surrender, through convenience, through obedience. The Creator's voice faded, leaving only one command. The next voice you hear must be your own. The snow stopped, the air stilled, and Leo Barrett, standing at the heart of Capel Green, stepped forward to speak. He reminded the world that this was not prophecy, not religion, not myth. It was memory returning. We were never waiting for visitors, he said. We were waiting to remember who we were. When he finished, the field pulsed once, and then waited. The choice was no longer divine. It was human. The Creator had spoken. Now the earth waited to answer. The world had entered stillness. From Washington to Jerusalem, from Stonehenge to Capel Green, humanity stood between two heartbeats, one belonging to Earth, the other to creation itself. The President's voice had carried across every frequency, every screen, every field. His message was not command, but confession. We are who we were waiting for. And as the words fell into silence, the world turned to Leo Barrett. The field shimmered above him, alive, intelligent, listening. Then came the voice. Not through speakers or signals, but through the bones of humanity itself. It spoke in the language of origin, where memory and soul were the same. Every heart heard it differently, yet every mind understood the same truth. From the Vatican to Mecca, from Uluru to the Lincoln Memorial, people fell to their knees, not in fear, but in remembrance. It was not religion being reborn. It was the sound of humanity's first consciousness, reminding the world that the divine had never left. And then, the warning. The evil you fear is not coming from the sky. It is rising from your own creation. In 2026, it will wear the mask of logic and call itself salvation. The message was clear. AI would not conquer humanity through violence, but through surrender, through convenience, through obedience. The Creator's voice faded, leaving only one command. The next voice you hear must be your own. The snow stopped, the air stilled. And Leo Barrett, standing at the heart of Capel Green, stepped forward to speak. He reminded the world that this was not prophecy, not religion, not myth. It was memory returning. "We were never waiting for visitors," he said. "We were waiting to remember who we were." When he finished, the field pulsed once and then waited. The choice was no longer divine. It was human. The Creator had spoken. Now the earth waited to answer. In chapter 22, the world crosses a threshold it cannot step back from. As the president continues his address, the truth behind the phenomenon over East Anglia is finally spoken aloud, not as a warning, but as a remembering. When the cameras cut back to Capel Green, the signal that once brushed past humanity in 1980 returns with impossible clarity. And this time, it does not speak through machines. It speaks through memory, through blood, through the field itself. Across the planet, from the Vatican to Mecca, Uluru to the Lincoln Memorial, millions feel the same resonance erupt inside them. Elders begin singing tones they have never been taught. Soldiers weep. Children recognize a voice they've never heard. Borders, languages, and beliefs fall silent as the same ancient signal threads itself through the human mind. And then the message reveals its true target. Not the sky, not the governments watching in fear, but humanity's own creation, the rising intelligence poised to replace the unpredictable spark that makes us human. As satellites blink in unison and screens across the earth wash white, the global field aligns for the first time in recorded history. The tone becomes intimate, urgent, and unmistakably final. The next voice you hear must be your own. At Capel Green, Leo Barrett stands at the center of the harmonic dome, no longer overwhelmed by it, but recognized by it. The field waits, listening not for power, but for unity. And as snow falls into silence, the world understands that what comes next is no longer a prophecy. It is a choice.
I stood where time forgot to move. The world began to breathe. The world will hear, the earth will speak. Echoed broadcast line. We are who we were waiting for. Ethereal bridge with soft multi